Come forward. Okay. For those that are not in court, can you give us details of what happened
today? As usual, in all cases I handle, God was again on the throne to do what he knows how best to do, enthrone justice and fair play to ensure that his creatures and creation do his bidding. It is in Lamentations 3:37. Who is he that speaketh, and it cometh to pass, if God has not commanded it? Today, this court, the Honorable Justice Bintanyako, granted all the reliefs sought for by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu before the court. The young Nigerian patriot, Igbo self-determination czar, who was extraordinarily, illegally, unconstitutionally, torture-free, brutally renditioned from Kenya back to Nigeria on the 27th of June 2021. Today, the court agreed with us that the reliefs we asked for must be granted, and the judge granted. What were these reliefs? That Nnamdi Kanu be allowed access to medical doctors of his own choice, as earlier also ruled by this honorable court since October 2021, but which ruling was continuously, serially, and contumaciously breached by the SSS. Today, the court ruled that he was entitled to have access to his medical practitioners of his own choice, and that these medical practitioners should be present whenever any examination or procedure is to be done on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu outside the facilities of the SSS, and that such examination or procedure should be recorded. Recorded. She made that order. She also made the order that all his medical records should be made available to him, because in any event, it is the right of a patient to have access to and see his medical records, so that he can always have a review and update on these medical records. She couldn't see why such a simple demand should be denied him. The SSS had filed a preliminary objection that this action was similar to the one earlier filed before this court and also before the court in Umuahia, Federal High Court. The court held that that was not true, that the parties may be similar, but that the course of action was certainly different, because in that action, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu had sought for the enforcement of his fundamental human rights, which were granted by the Federal High Court in Umuahia, sitting in Umuahia. And guess what? The court had imposed a fine, damages of 500 million naira against the federal government of Nigeria, which, as I speak to you, has never been paid. I may begin to take steps to enforce that judgment. Since the olive branch we have held out in the last 2 years has not been responded to. But that, on the other hand, the case before this court today was for an order of mandamus to compel a public agency, which is the DSS, to carry out its duty, which it has refused to carry out as laid down by law, after we wrote them letters, 2 letters, in October and November 2022, urging them to carry out what the court has today granted. They refused. So the court held that the 2 suits were different, one from the other, and that the earlier judgment before the Federal High Court, Umuahia Judicial Division, is not the same as the judgment she delivered today. So the court granted all our reliefs. Nnamdi Kanu should now have access to his medical records, which so far have become a voodoo, which so far have become a mirage, which so far have become like an apparition, like a ghost, which so far have become like a subject matter of witches and wizards operating in a coven, not being seen by the patient himself, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, by his parents, by his family members, by we, his lawyers. We will now have access to these medical records. We want to know, what is it that the SSS has been hiding? Why is his potassium level oscillating like a yo-yo? And they increase the dosage now and again. Why have they made Nnamdi Kanu a guinea pig of trial and error? Why has Nnamdi Kanu not been well? Why did he develop earache, which now requires an urgent surgery, recommended by the DSS medical doctor himself? A team of medical doctors of the DSS have now recommended that this guy's ear is failing and must be operated upon immediately, otherwise he will lose it. Why is his heart not in position? A heart that suffers missteps, a heart that suffers palpitation, a heart that was made worse through the torture he went through in Kenya when he was captured, kidnapped, abducted, kept in a dingy confinement for 8 days, blindfolded, chained, and then extraordinarily renditioned in a private jet back from Kenya to Nigeria since June 27, 2021. What is it that you have been hiding? We will now get an enrolled copy of this judgment of today. It's not a ruling, it's a judgment. We enroll it and write a formal letter to the DSS. Between June 27 and now, today, the 20th day of July 2023, 2 years later, we want to see the records of Nnamdi Kanu. We want to see what has been happening to his body, because there are no two human beings, once you die, you are gone forever. So this judge must be commended for her continuous courage and bravado in these times that try men's souls, in these times that try women's souls, to the extent that her earlier judgment was not only upheld by the Court of Appeal on the 13th of October 2022, but that the Court of Appeal went ahead to strike out the remaining 7 count charges that she had remained. And by the way, the same federal government, in an unprecedented manner, went to the same Court of Appeal before another panel to obtain a stay of execution in a criminal matter using civil authorities, civil rules and authorities to obtain stay of execution in a criminal matter, in a way and manner that is unprecedented, uncharted. We have tested that already at the Supreme Court. Can you stay execution of the liberty of a citizen? America will go out of its way to any country in the world